Hey, what's up, everybody? Ralph here. So I came across this article on axsales.com, and it talks about the housing affordability crisis that's going on in the UK. Well, obviously in the US, we also have a crisis. We got high rents, all right? We got, mortgage rates that are increasing along with home prices, making housing very expensive. And for a lot of people, obviously the American dream is, you want to be able to buy your own home and build a family. But for a lot of people, that dream is becoming a struggle. And, you don't want a class of people just not being able to, or have the opportunity to be able to purchase something that they can call home, where they can raise their children in, because a lot of people aren't going to be pissed off about that. So I think for the U.S., they're trying to figure out how to do it, and obviously with the interest rates, the Fed's increasing the interest rates. Hopefully, they're hoping that drives down the prices of inflation, obviously, in home prices, food, everything that consumers consume on a daily basis. But here in the U.K., their solution, or what they're talking about, is creating 50-year mortgages. Now, I would be interested in your thoughts on if that's something that you guys would be interested in here in the U.S. Okay, but here in the U.K., they're talking about implementing a 50-year mortgage. And so let's read this article. So in the United Kingdom, there's talk of lengthening the loan terms on mortgages to 40 to 50 years as a way of making homes more affordable. Obviously, if you think about it, the longer the loan is, that's going to help, with affordability for your monthly payments, right? Interest rates. But the issue you're going to have is when it comes to these things, is you're going to be paying more interest over time. So that's something you got to think about when it comes to the interest rate. And a lot of people would argue that, like if you talk to a lot of financial experts, they will say that, you shouldn't even do a 30-year mortgage, because obviously you're going to be paying more on that home. But you should typically do a 15 years. But for a lot of people, they can't afford the 30-year. Because obviously the interest rates, become a certain way, and I mean, it's, even though it's lower on the 15-year, but the monthly payments are more condensed, making it much larger monthly. And a lot of people can't handle that monthly obligation, so they stretch it out, get a higher interest rate, and and it makes it more affordable. But over the long term, that bank is going to be making more money, because obviously you're going to be paying more interest over that term of the loan. So the big picture says, in the U.S., which has an affordability problem of its own, no one is talking about this. We already took this kind of step back in the New Deal in establishing a 30-year mortgages, vastly expanding access to home ownership among white Americans. Before the government took these steps to back mortgages, terms on home loans were around 5 years. Notes on overview from Marketplace from 2018. I didn't even know that, 5 years. So it said before the government took these steps to back mortgages, terms on home loans were around 5 years. Wow, I didn't know that. So, yeah, it's crazy. So the 30-year loan became even more appealing after Fannie and Freddie was established in the 1970s and started buying mortgages from banks that no longer had to hold on to that risk for decades. So obviously back then they used to have five-year mortgages, and then obviously to make it more affordable for people, for citizens, they created the 30-year mortgage. Right, and that makes sense. If you can't afford it, then let's say, all right, let's stretch it out, and then make sure that we can make it the loan payments more affordable. And people were like, all right, yeah, that makes sense. But here in the UK now, they're trying to implement the 40 or 50 year to make it even more affordable. And for a lot of people, some people argue like, damn, do I want to pay more interest over the term of that loan? Yeah, I can afford it monthly, but like I'm paying more interest on that loan. So some people probably wouldn't be cool with that. And, depending on who you are, depending on your financial, situation, this may or may not make sense to you. But there's one group that this will make sense for. If you're someone that's a landlord, or you own rental property, obviously if you're going to take that loan, you'll take the longest loan possible, because you have renters that are paying for it, right? So you're not paying out of your pocket. You have renters that are paid for, and you're going to make your money either way. But if you're someone that's using this home as a personal home, then for you you got to see if it makes sense for you financially. All right, so forget 50 years. The UK doesn't even do 30-year fixed mortgages. Rates are typically fixed for only 2 to 5 years, and then float, meaning the payments will go up as rates rise for terms as long as 25 years. Right? Sounds like an adjustable rate mortgage, right? So there's no Fannie or Freddie out there supporting the market through their increased talk or moving in that direction. As Bloomberg reported, the 50-year loan is part of the conversation. The notion that such a long-term loan is unheard of Japan started doing 100-year mortgages decades ago. It's a way for parents to pass on wealth without burdening the next generation with higher inheritance taxes. But then you're going to burden them with a debt that they may or may not want or be financially ready for. That's something that you got to be cognizant as well. Some kids are like, oh, now I have to take on this debt. I'm not even financially in a position to do that. Like, obviously, like if you're going to bring down an asset to somebody, like who would not want an asset, right? But if you're going to put that debt, if that debt is going to be transferred to one party to another, and that person that's getting the debt is not ready for it, then and it's just going to be more so of a burden than something that you're going to be like, all right, look forward to having, right? So there are more practical reasons that half-century mortgage wouldn't be the best way to expand affordability in the U.S. or anywhere else. Really, borrowers would pay more. The advantage to a longer loan term is lower monthly payments, but ultimately you'd pay more in interest over the term of the loan. They'd also build less equity. If you have a 50-year loan on a $400,000 house, you'd have $110,000 of equity after 30 years. According to calculations by Mortgage Bankers Association. If you had a 30-year loan, you'd own the house. So look, so basically what they're saying is if you were looking at a $400,000 house and you had a 50-year loan, over that time you would have built only $110,000 of equity. But if you would have had a 30-year mortgage on that $400,000 house, the house would be paid for. So basically, as you can understand, that over time you're paying more you're paying more for that house, long term. So obviously you got to be cognizant of that, but a lot of people don't really think of it that way. It's just like, I need a home and I need monthly payments that I can afford. So what do we got to do to make that happen? But then if you think of long term, you're like, you know what, over the long term, I'm going to be paying more in interest. Okay, but most people don't think of it that way, which is why when it comes to finance, people struggle. It's just they don't think of the long-term aspect of what things cost. They just think of it as monthly payments, as opposed to just what is the total cost of this thing I'm purchasing. All right. So plus, typically when home payments go down, it allows prices to rise. This is yes, but most people don't actually pay off their mortgages. The median length of time someone stays in their home in the U.S. is 13 years, according to the National Association of Realtors. So from the perspective of a short-term homeowner, a 50-year term might make sense. And that's true too. Most people do not stay in that home for the length of the term of the loan. I don't know too many people that have lived in that same house for 30 years. Typically, people are moving, like you said, on average every 13 years. I've stayed in two properties. One I stayed in like 4 or 5 years, and then another 10 years. Like you don't stay for the length of a loan. So the bottom line is they better than messing with mortgages. Most housing observers here in the UK believe actually building more homes would be a better way to increase affordability. And that's another thing too. Instead of trying to increase the length of the loan, how about you just build more properties? Like, we have a lot of land here, but why don't they just make more? I mean, if you can increase the supply of the housing, then obviously the demand would balance out and you would see prices go down. Right now, we don't have enough housing for the demand. So basic economics, right? So economics 101. When the demand increases, so does the price. When supply increases, the price goes down. So you just got to find a way to increase the supply and then reduce the demand. So I mean, it would make sense if they just obviously build more homes, but for whatever reason, that's not happening. All right. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Do you think a 50-year mortgage would make sense here in the United States? Make sure to leave a comment down below, hit the like button, share, and please do not forget to subscribe. All right. So you guys take care. Have a good one. Later.